Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's training session, Writing and Directing for Documentary. This training is brought to you by kind courtesy, the Ghana YMCA, Welt Filme in Germany, Sladia in Sierra Leone, NIL in Liberia, University of the Gambia, CNA Togo, and Exchange Perspectives from Germany, with financial cooperation from Bread for the World and the Federal Economic Corporation in Germany. Over the past 2 days, you have learned from my colleague, Mankata, writing and directing for feature. And today we're also going to look at another art form, which is documentary. Some of the concepts interlap, but then there are also some differences in the concept. So we're going to be looking at what is a film, what is a documentary. We're also going to look at some styles in making a documentary, and we'll also look at some key concepts in documentary filmmaking, particularly logline and synopsis. My name is Shakiru. What is a film? A film is a story about someone who is a main protagonist who wants something but has difficulties getting it. Unlike in the previous sessions where you learned about feature, whereby a writer writes the screenplay and then gets actors to direct. With documentary, you don't write a screenplay. What you do is you write something called a treatment, and you're using the treatment to guide you in capturing reality. So you don't just go into the film and say, okay, I'm interested in this. You just go in and you just start filming anything. You need to have a guide, okay? We're also going to learn about what a documentary is. Now, a documentary is you capturing something, okay, that is otherwise unknown. You are documenting aspects of reality. Now, documentary is a very unique art form because you can make a documentary about literally anything. I mean, anything. So then that takes us to the next session called story. How do you identify a story for documentary? How do you identify a story? Now, you can, like I said earlier on, you can make a documentary about anything. You can make a documentary about your cat. You can make a documentary about your dog. You can make a documentary about your family. You can make a documentary about your experiences. Now, let us look at this image. This is an image of a man in a bakery. Let's call it Boca Bakery. Now, this bakery can be a family business. So imagine this was a family business, okay? And this man is continuing a family business which started in the 19th century. His grandfather baked, his father baked, and it has been passed on to him. You can make a documentary about this, okay? Now imagine that this bakery has been serving presidents. That makes it very interesting. You can make a documentary about it. Now imagine this same bakery we're in a community whereby it is creating jobs for people and creating employment. Now, you can make a documentary about it. It's very important that in making your documentary, you need to be able to identify a good story. Now, how do you know what a good story is? The story must touch your heart. It must be something you find difficulty walking away from. If you hear an idea, if you have a story idea and you can easily walk away from it, in my opinion, it is not a good documentary story. But if it's something that you want to speak about, you want to speak about a well-known subject, you want to speak about a subject that is controversial, you want to speak about a less known subject, documentaries form a very good opportunity for you to do that. So you can make a documentary about how your community is creating jobs. You can make a documentary about your uncle who fought in World War II. You can make a documentary about some notorious gang, okay? But also very important is that in thinking about making a documentary, you also have to think about access. If as a filmmaker, you need access in making a documentary, meaning that you need to be able to, you need the leeway to be able to go in and then make the documentary. So let's say that you have ideas. I know most of us have, we have issues, we have so many things, political stories, social stories, economic, that we are concerned about. Okay, you can make a documentary about this. The next thing we're going to learn about is the qualities of a good documentary. It must be unique and universal, meaning that you should be able to make a documentary in, say, Kenya that will be interesting for anybody in Australia. Your documentary must challenge existing norms. If you're making a film or a documentary that we already know, then that's not interesting for us. Okay, so you don't have to make a documentary about stuff that people already know. So make something that has surprise in it, that people are going to watch it and are going to be like, wow, so this actually existed. Okay, so think about whatever idea you have, but also think about whether this story is going to challenge people or your potential audience. And also think about, why am I making this documentary? And who are your audience? Okay, you have to think about your audience in making a film, just like you learned in writing for directing a feature. As a filmmaker, you must be able to identify who your target audience are. Are you making this film for millennials? Are you making it for politicians, policymakers? Are you making it for your community? Are you making it for your family? So you need to also think about this very well. The next thing we're going to talk about is log lines. Oh, style. We are going to talk about style. Now, in making a documentary, you need to understand and ask yourself, what style do you want to use? There are 6 different styles, and we're going to talk about 3 today, and we'll share the materials with you for the other 3. The first style is what we call observational style. Now, with observational style, it's a style of documentary filmmaking whereby what you're doing is you're just observing the world around you. Now, as a filmmaker, you are not seeking to influence. Okay, this is also called fly on the wall or cinema verite, which translates in English as truth cinema. So with observational documentaries, all you're doing is you're capturing the important moment, you're capturing the things you're seeing, you're letting the camera do the work. Another style is called expository. With expository, your aim is to inform and persuade. Okay, so as a filmmaker, you sort of have an aim and you want people to be persuaded by some ideas or some viewpoint. Okay, so then you think about films where you heard somebody do a narration over a footage. Okay, so with the narration, the filmmaker is looking to persuade you into thinking in a certain direction or seeing a certain point of view. Another style of filmmaking is participatory. With participatory, it is a blend of observatory and expository. Okay, and with participatory, the filmmaker is involved in the film. Okay, so you may have seen some documentaries where you see a filmmaker moving from one place to another, being part of the film, asking questions, talking to people, and also sharing part of their life also in the documentary. The other forms are reflexive, poetic, and performative. We would look at those with you later. Now, the next thing is logline. Now, some people think that a logline is not important in making a film. In the previous days, you learned in writing and directing for feature that you need a logline. In making a documentary also, you also need a logline. What is a logline? A logline is the summary of the whole film in one sentence. And I'm sure you must have learned that with my colleague Mankata in the previous day. A logline is like a business card. Okay, it's like the first like when you give a business card to someone, it is how they get introduced to you. Okay, now the log line is also important because it will guide you throughout the whole film, so that by the time you are done with your documentary, you are not shooting something else from what you originally intended to shoot. But also you must continue to refine the log line, so that by the time you are done with your documentary, it is essentially what you want to capture. Now, I'm going to share with you the log line of a film called Life on the Road, a short film which I directed in 2019. Now, this is the log line on your screen. I will now share with you also, on the screen will be two samples of the log line. One was written in March and the other was written in November. Now, I would like you to, at this point, also look at these two samples and share with me what differences you identify in these two log lines. So you can use your reaction button to raise your hand and then share with me what differences you identify in these two log lines, one, and then also what each of the log lines communicate to you. Okay, so get interactive with me at this point. We can take one or two people to also share their experiences, and then we also move on to the next session. I don't see any hand up yet. Okay. All right. Pa Kofi near Felix would like to speak. Okay, so Park Coffee has his hands up. Kindly wait to be unmuted so you can speak. Go ahead and speak. Park Coffee Felix, you can go ahead and speak. Okay. All right. So, okay, I guess you are still looking at it. We would come to it later on. Yes. So, okay, I think someone's hand is, I think that's Bright. Is it, is that Bright? Edward, right? Okay, all right. So now, when you look at these two log lines, you would realize that the first log line has some strokes in there. That is not acceptable. Okay, when you look at the one that has March written in March, it has some stroke there. And then also, you also realize that the second log line tells us more about the protagonist's obstacles. Okay, so even without watching the film, you would see that the 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 second log line, which was written in November, contains more about the wants and the obstacles of the protagonist compared to just one that was indicated in the one in what, March. Now we will go to synopsis. What is a synopsis? A synopsis is a brief description of your story idea. Okay, now before we continue with synopsis, you can also start thinking about your favorite documentary. Okay, and during the Q&A session, I would also like to hear you tell me about your favorite documentaries and why you love these documentaries. Back to synopsis. Now, after you have written your log line, the next step is to write your synopsis, which expands on your log line. Your synopsis is a short description of your film, which you write in about 5 to 7 sentences. Your synopsis gives us more information about your protagonist, also talks about the wants of your protagonist, what your protagonist wants to achieve, the obstacles he faces, and also the synopsis gives us an idea of the director's message. Why is this film important to a larger audience? You need to include this in the synopsis. Now, this synopsis will help you to now write what we call the treatment, which we are going to look at tomorrow. If you don't write your synopsis, you will not be able to write your treatment. Now, the essence of your treatment, which we will go into detail tomorrow, is that is your tool to which you can show to any producer. Okay, so before you go and start filming any documentary, you need a treatment. The treatment gives you an idea of what you are likely to find on your location. It tells us what your story is about essentially. So then it guides you to determine what your logistics are and what your location and the other things that you would need to make your film production a success. At this point, we would look at a sample of the synopsis for Life on the Road. So the life on, okay, all right. So we will share with you the synopsis for Life on the Road in the comment box, and then we can also take the questions and answers. Okay, so at this point, we would like to take any questions and answers that you may have. And once again, this training is brought to you by the Ghana YMCA, World Film in Germany, Sladia in Sierra Leone, NAIL in Liberia, CNA Togo, the University of the Gambia, and Exchange Perspectives, with financial support from the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and Bread for the World. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to hearing your questions. So feel free, ask any question at all you want to ask about your documentary. All right, okay. Okay, just like I mentioned to you, so this is a sample of the synopsis on your screen, which expands on, which tells you more about the protagonist. Now, when you look at this synopsis, what I would like you to do is to identify which sentences in the synopsis talks about the protagonist, which sentences also talks about the wants and needs and then the obstacles, and also which sentences in the synopsis do you identify as the director's message. Okay, so you can indicate those sentences in the chat comments, and we will pick some of them and then discuss further in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ed. Hello, Jesse. Hello, Jesse. Please go ahead and speak. Hello, Jesse J Studios.
Oh, yes. Take my way. Come. Pick him up when you're done.
Yeah, hello, Jesse. You can go ahead and speak. Okay. Hello, Goldman. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I missed the first part of your presentation. So if it will be possible, I can have a like a summary sort of.
Okay. Okay, so which part did you hear?
I met synopsis.
Okay, all right. So is essentially just like in writing and directing for feature, in documentaries you also need a log line. So before you write the synopsis, you need to write your log line, and the log line is is a summary of your film in a sentence. Okay, and so you need this log line, just like if you were writing for a feature. Now, in documentaries, unlike feature where writers would write the screenplay and then get actors to direct, with documentaries, you are not writing a screenplay. The alternate is what we call a treatment. Okay, and the treatment includes the log line, the synopsis, and the actual treatment, and then some other techniques, some other information that we will discuss tomorrow. But also, very importantly, you need to be able to identify your story. It's very important. Now, what makes great documentaries is your ability as a filmmaker to identify a seemingly simple story and be able to transform it into something that is interesting for everybody to view anywhere. So your film must be unique and universal. Don't make a documentary about something we already know. You can take a well-known subject, but then you take another angle of it and highlight on another angle that people are not aware of. Okay, so for instance, I cited an example of a bakery. Okay, now somebody who is in a bakery business. Now, this bakery business could be a family business that has been running from the 19th century, and he is now running the business. If there is a documentary already about that, I don't think that will be interesting for you to continue. But let's say that this person who is now running this business is now, say, the business is actually going down. Okay, now from one generation, the business is not doing so well. Now you can choose to make a documentary about how the current person or the current family member who is running the business is trying to make this business profitable again. Okay, you can make a documentary about how a community is fighting climate change. So you need to be able to identify a seemingly simple story and turn it into something interesting for everybody. All right, there are some questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Can the synopsis be very short, or how long should it be in terms of numbers? The synopsis should be about 5 to 7 sentences. Some people say that it should be about half a page. So in that 5 to 7 sentences, you must ensure that it captures a little more information about the protagonist, the wants of the protagonist. So what does the protagonist, for those of you who don't know, the protagonist is the main character. So in writing for feature, you call the main person a character. In documentaries, you call the person a documentary, the one whom the film is centered around. Okay, so you need to write a little more, 1 or 2 sentences about the main protagonist, write a little more about their wants and needs, and write about the obstacles they are facing. And more importantly, you need to write the director's message. Why is this film important for a larger audience? If you were going to speak to any producer, the producer is going to ask you for a synopsis. If you were going to any investor to invest in your business, they're going to ask you for the synopsis. So that's the question from Park Ofini. Sylvester says
hello.
the display wasn't long and the 3 styles among the 6 should be dealt with again. Okay. Deborah says, can you call a reality show a documentary? Okay, all right. So I will respond to Deborah. Deborah, a reality show is not a documentary. Now, it will only become a documentary if you are filming you are filming, let's say, the people who are making this documentary. So let's say there's a reality show that has been on TV for, say, 100 years. Now, if you can make a documentary about it by filming the people involved, how it started, and where the impact it has had on the people, the challenges they've had, yes, that will make it a documentary. But the reality show itself is not a documentary, even though, yes, you can say that it's some form of documenting something. Of course, everything we do is like really documented, but it is not a documentary. All right. The three styles. What I said was this: the observational style of documentary filmmaking is a style whereby you are only observing what is happening. So, for example, you are making a documentary about a community that has been that does not have access to other communities. Okay, now when you go into this community and you're filming their way of life, you are not interrupting it with your views. You don't go in filming what you think about that community. You go in there with your camera and you're filming their way of life. Day by day, you go to you identify some people who you are filming. You film them in school, you film them at home, you film what their culture is, their food and everything. Okay, that is an observational kind of documentary. It's like you are viewing them without interrupting, without putting yourself in the way. That is the observational kind of documentary. Now, with the expository is where you are trying to inform and persuade. Okay, so you make a documentary where you include a narration. Okay, now you have your footage, and then you include a narration because you want people to see, to be part of the documentary also from the point of view of the narration. So you are giving additional information with the narration. That is an expository kind of documentary. And also the participatory is the kind of documentary whereby the filmmaker is also in the film. Okay, so it is a blend of observation and expository. So you have the filmmaker also in the film. So you have to determine, why are you making the film and why are you choosing what style to use? Personally, I don't like to make films that have me in the film. I prefer observational kind of documentaries. Okay, and so the other types, we're going to explain it on the WhatsApp page. So, but if I want to make a film that, okay, all right, I've been notified of Jesse J Studios. Jesse J, please, you can speak now.
Hello.
Jesse J.
Yeah, hello. You did mention of under the style of documentary, expository documentary, and I want to know, Tiger Eye Production, that's another style of documentary. Can it fall under the expository documentary?
Yes, it can fall under expository documentary. Yes, it's an investigative documentary. They have so for those of you who are not from Ghana, Tiger Eye is an investigative organization that goes in there to film people, and they also include their own narration. So yes, that qualifies as an expository documentary. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Daniel, please speak. Daniel the Victor. Please, you can go ahead and speak.
Yeah, Shakiru. Hello, Shakiru.
Yeah, hi, Daniel.
Yeah, so how will you classify the documentary that you did on Audu, The Life on the Road? Which class does it fall in, expository or observatory?
Okay, well, I would classify that as observatory because
Okay.
I did not seek to influence the film in any way, and I did not have any of my views in the film. I did not have my narration. I did not have any external narration. So it was the protagonist in that film whose voice could be heard all through the film. So that is an observatory kind of film.
Okay, so that means the expository has a sort of third-party influence, like an intentional influence for that, right?
Where you are, yeah, so you've identified a particular theme. So maybe you are making a film about climate change, or you're making a film
Okay.
about rape. Okay, now
Okay.
that will be expository, because then you can't just show your footage without having a narration, because the film may be interpreted differently by different people from different places. Okay, even though it is still a universal story, different people have different understanding of what maybe rape is, you know, or of what sexual violence is. So if you make an expository film, then you are saying that, okay, this is what we want you to know. We are informing you, or you are persuading people to think along the lines of your narration.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Daniel. Thanks for joining. Happy to see you.
Same
Okay.
here. Same here.
So, Favor Apovi is asking if a live talk, let's say an autobiography, be acted as a documentary film. Okay. So you can, if you have an autobiography, which is your own life story, it depends on how you want to film it. You can choose to film this as a feature film, where you have a writer write a screenplay. So essentially, you are going to adapt. You know, so you are adapting your autobiography as a feature film. Now, if you want to make it a documentary, then it means that you cannot just translate what you've written in your autobiography, but you have to film it. So in filming your life, say, let's say you're filming your life story for the next 20 years, that will make it a documentary. Okay, let's say you are 30 years old now, and you want to film your experiences, your challenges, your successes from now till you are, say, 50 years or 70 years. That is your autobiography in a documentary format. So that would make it a documentary. But if you give your autobiography to a filmmaker and say that, you know what, I want you to produce this, okay, then it will be a feature film. Or yes, it's going to be a feature film. So then a writer would, based on your autobiography, write out, get actors to act it out. You could be an actor also. That will make it a feature film. I hope that answers Favor's question. What's the shortest duration? Okay, what's the shortest duration for a documentary? What I would say is there is really no short duration in traditional film format. Okay, short films or short documentaries are considered to have a timing of about 20 minutes. Okay, 20 minutes or under 30 minutes makes it a short film. So you can make a documentary which is just 4 minutes. You can make a documentary that is just 5 minutes. So you really do not have any limitations when it comes to the time. Bright Tebri, please, you can speak now. Hello, Bright, please go ahead and speak. No, he's not in the comment. Aubrey Clement. Okay, what's the shortest? He may be the same person. All right. Okay, so what I would do now is, I think I've been informed that some people could not see the synopsis. So I'm going to read it out to you, and then you can think about, so as I'm reading, think about it, okay? Because you are also going to be writing your own synopsis. So as I read this out, then you can think about it, and Also identify which parts of this synopsis is speaking about the main protagonist, their wants, their obstacles, and also you can also tell me if you can identify the director's message. All right. So this is the synopsis for Life on the Road. Okay. Now you will notice the very first word there is traffic junkie. Now I deliberately left this there because traffic junkie was the working title. So in making documentaries, at the beginning, you would have what you call a working title. Now that may or may not be the actual title. Okay, so by the time you're done with the film, then you need to now determine what the real title of the film is. So this was written, and you will see Traffic Junkie inside, but it's actually For Life on the Road. Traffic Junkie is a story of Audu Tijani, who has been directing traffic for about 2 decades in Ghana's capital, Accra. Though he is not an official traffic warden, his work has become his life's task. He was to be enrolled in the police service, but that ambition ended with the demise of his uncle, a police officer. He left Boku for Accra to find work when his father died. He was about 25 years old. Beginning from dawn till early evening, Audu is seen at Accra's notably congested areas directing traffic. His desire is to serve the country as a policeman, but this seems to have eluded him. Nevertheless, he continues to complement the work of official traffic wardens at great risk to his life and well-being. In quotes, if a car knocks me down now, nobody will be charged. Neither will I get any proper treatment. But if I were a government staff, I would enjoy certain benefits in case, unquote, Audu Tijani. He regrets not having formal education. Over the years, he has endured verbal abuse from some motorists, while the encouragement he gets from others keeps him going. Somehow, he returns to the road every day. Audu's story is a constant reminder that all of us can identify and meet a particular need in our communities, despite our personal struggles. We are confronted with the irony whereby the people who benefit most from his acts of service barely recognize him. Thank you for listening. We have in 3 minutes, if you would like to share with me, I'll be happy to hear from you. Anybody who can identify the sentences that talk about the protagonist, you can do that from the comment box. So there's a question from Angelo Asare. As a content creator on any social media platform, do you need to put your content on a script? Or as a vlogger, do you need to script down before you create your content? All right. So, Angelo, what I would say is, I think this varies from individual to individual. There are some vloggers who do not script, you know. I'll give you a typical example of somebody who is not a vlogger. Now, it is said in Hollywood that Stephen King does not use a treatment outline. He just goes on to write. But then the people who said that also say that, well, you are not Stephen King, so you need to use a treatment outline. Okay, so it depends on what your style is. Okay, with social media, it's a very fluid format. All right, so if you are more effective scripting, which I mean, essentially we are now out of documentary format. With social media, if you are more comfortable scripting, because that helps you to be organized, it also counts to your personality, then please do that. But if you are the kind of person who can just go on because you are more sporadic and fluid when you are not controlled, or when you are not in a controlled environment, and you can flow freely, yes, do that. I think you have to try out which one works for you, and then over time you'll be able to know what's the best way to go. I think another question we have earlier is, okay, I think we've answered majority of the question. Is there anybody who would like to identify any part of the synopsis? Okay. Great. Goldman Doji Awuku, beautiful. He has identified the director's message. He said, "We are confronted with the irony." That is absolutely beautiful. That is one of the director's message. Yes. So you're 100% right. Who else? If you identify any part of the synopsis, please, you can just write part of the sentence in the comment section for us to all learn from it. And while at it, please be reminded that tomorrow's session, we're going to be looking at treatment, and we're going to be looking at documentary techniques. So stay with me. Tomorrow, you would learn how to write the treatment itself. So now you have the synopsis. You have to now expand the synopsis further and write a treatment. Now, the treatment is going to give you an overview of what your film is going to look like, even though you have not written it. But you need to have the treatment before you even start filming, okay? Because the treatment is going to be your guide. So tomorrow we're going to look at how to write a treatment in details. And we'll also look at documentary techniques. What kind of techniques can you use in making your documentary? Hello, everyone. Before we end today's session, we would like for you to indicate in the chat box where you are joining from. So you can please write your name and your country, okay? So that then we all know where you're coming from, and then we can use that also to connect further and then learn some more. Thank you. Faith Anderson. Hi, Faith. I've seen your question about the video. So the videos are going to be shared on the Ghana YMCA Facebook page. So please go to Ghana YMCA, like the page, so you can have access to the video. All the videos from this session are going to be shared with you. Thank you. And I also see the names coming. Please ensure to write your names and where you are joining from. Also, I would like to inform you that for those of us in Ghana, there is a surprise for all of you. Now, the Ghana YMCA and Wells Film will be bringing this training to your regions. So those of you in the Central region, Ashanti region, Volta region, Eastern region, and the Western region, we are coming there. And we're going to have another session of this training. And also after the training, we're going to produce a short film together. So stay glued to the Ghana YMCA page. Stay glued to the WhatsApp. If you are not on the WhatsApp, please join the WhatsApp page so that when we come to these regions, you can join us. Everything we have learned over the period, from writing and directing for feature to writing and directing for documentary and camera editing, media for peace, which is going to be happening in the coming weeks. We're going to put all of that together and we're going to develop film. So these are going to be your stories. So if you're part of this, any story you have that you want us to film, we're going to brainstorm all of those stories together and we're going to produce a short film that all of us can call our own. So if you don't have any experience and this is your first time coming into film, please take advantage of this opportunity and join us. All right. All right, so this training was brought to you by Ghana YMCA, the Welt Film from Germany, Sladia in Sierra Leone, NEO in Liberia, CNA Togo, University of the Gambia, and Exchange Perspectives from Germany, with financial support from the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and Bread for the World. Thank you so much for joining us on this session, and join us again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to continue, and then next week we're also going to be having media for peace and also camera and editing for those who have signed up for those ones. If you have any further question, you can send it to the WhatsApp page or put it in the chat box, and we are happy to connect with you and to continue this discussion with you. Thank you once again. See you tomorrow.